Well, I'm supposed to talk about the future of journalism here today, but to be honest, I'm still trying to get my head around the present. For me, the future has already arrived. I say that because the media industry has undergone such a seismic shift over the past decade that the ground beneath my feet is still shaking. The boundaries are continually changing around the way we deliver news and the way we consume news. The media of the future will become even more fractured. It will be more specialised, more opinionated and more inclusive. It will also become more juxtaposed. I say that because there'll be widely disseminated services regurgitating little more than free headlines and news bites, existing alongside niche organisations and branded individuals offering pay-per-view content that is rich, responsive and researched. It will be the immediate versus the immersive, the dazzling versus the deep, the largely hyped versus the hyperlocal, snack boxes versus degustation, if you like. Newspapers, they used to be known as the Daily Miracle. Now it's more like a minute-by-minute miracle. As we, 24/7 newsrooms, they try to keep this online feed up to our discerning audience. It's exciting, but it's daunting at the same time. Stuck to my office door is an ancient Chinese proverb, which I found on Facebook. It reads, "When the wind of change blows, some people build walls, others build windmills." As I told communication students at the University of Newcastle, graduated last month, change is being thrust upon the media, as it is almost every other industry. We can't avoid change, but if we embrace change, we can direct it. We can even harness it to our advantage. I believe Newcastle and the media have a bright future. The city is on the cusp of something monumental. Momentum is building, and so are those windmills. It's understandable that some of the media is disheartened by job redundancies, company restructures, and changes in consumer habits. It's even hard for them to find hope in the booming new audiences being reached through mind-blowing technologies, advancements where there's not enough revenue, let alone the assurance of longevity attached. Yes, we are a sceptical bunch, but that doesn't mean that we can't and shouldn't be optimistic. Nothing is more powerful nor more contagious than positivity. The extraordinary power of the human imagination is such that when it comes to creating our future, imagining is at least as important as the physical act of creating. Given that, I believe a powerful case exists for society to encourage its thinkers, its dreamers, its media to picture better futures and to draw the maps and guides that may persuade others to follow. That's why we asked our friendly local digital soothsayer, Jeff Julian over here, to create a utopian rather than a dystopian future for the city as part of our fantastic Newcastle Next series of Herald front pages, which you may have seen this week. Of course, that doesn't mean the media shouldn't retain a healthy scepticism, as long as it's healthy. Cynicism rarely benefits anyone. It's not just that we report and who we report on, but it's how we report what counts. So while the media of the future might be embroiled in the dark arts of government spin, corporate collusion and citizen blogging, I also envisage a brighter flip side. I can see our homes featuring huge data walls that call up personally curated news services via voice commands. I've dreamt of video drones in such numbers that they darken the night sky, like the bat migration out of Blackbutt. I've thought about wearing contact lenses with blink-activated search engines. And I've wondered about Wi-Fi implants so that we can recharge our body's batteries and repair damaged cells via a swipe of barcodes tattooed on our wrist. Or maybe there'll be downloading and uploading of memories, knowledge and experiences through some sort of cerebral change. All for a discounted cradle-to-the-grave subscription rate, of course. Technology is changing at such an exponential rate that we may not even have to be awake to communicate. Think on that. Social media via the subconscious. And the way spelling is headed, that's probably for the best. At least that's what I told those graduates last month. Indeed, different strains of language might evolve or devolve as the poor and uneducated communicate differently to the elite and educated. Don't worry about spelling. People might forget how to write by hand altogether. Okay. Enough of the pessimism, more Pollyanna. Fundamental principles will continue to propel the best in journalism. Those principles are accuracy, courage, engagement, and trust. Accuracy because it's no good being the first with the news if you don't get the facts right. After all, we are supposed to be penning the first drafts of history. Courage because hard news should forever be about publishing something that someone somewhere doesn't want published. It takes a certain type of bravery to hold authorities to account. The hardest news, like the hardest decisions, aren't always popular, but we are duty-bound to make them. As far as engagement is concerned, the media needs to be able to read its audience even better than its audience reads it. We have to be a barometer for what our community is thinking, even before they think it. We have to tap into joys, into fears, into hopes, into frustrations. News is and should always be addictive, whatever form it takes. Anyone, I think, who followed the Sydney Morning Herald's Kate McClimate on Twitter this week during the ICAC inquiry will know that. And last but certainly not least, journalism must be about trust, because if your audience believes what you are telling them, they're more likely to keep coming back. It's not something you can manufacture, particularly as the media market continues to fracture. We need to rescue and protect the truth. Trust is built up over time, and at the Newcastle Herald, we've been building it for more than a century and a half. That's not to say we don't make mistakes. It took 25 years of mistakes for me to become the editor. And yes, that haircut you saw before was one of those. Mistakes are okay as long as you acknowledge them, as long as you learn from them, and as long as you try not to make the same one twice. And don't self-flagellate over them. One of the Herald's first editors was literally whipped by a rival in Bolton Street. The offender was, I think he was fined £5. Nowadays, he'd probably get a medal. While, the worst I have to cop is the occasional flogging on social media. Our mantra at the Herald is local stories about local people and local events. We are a proudly parochial masthead, the voice of the hunter. We champion the hunter and his people, we celebrate their victories, we commiserate the losses. We agitate, placate, stimulate, debate, and most importantly, we participate. It's no longer enough for the media to set the agenda. We need to be prepared to shift the agenda. We must stand up for our community. We must battle for recognition. We must state our case while we deserve a greater share of government funding. We must fight for justice. As that voice of the hunter, we must be a loud hailer for those who can't speak up for themselves, which is what we did with our Shine the Light campaign into sex abuse within the church. A campaign led by our crusading columnist, Joanne McCarthy, which led to the current Royal Commission. Talk about courage. Within a decade, the Newcastle Herald has gone from a newspaper producing 6 print editions a week to being an almost round-the-clock operation with a multi-platform repertoire that includes a website with live sporting telecasts and video panel shows, digital replica editions designed for iPads, Twitter feeds, Facebook posts, Instagram messages, audio podcasts, smartphone apps, all with those same 6 print editions a week. And we're doing it with fewer people in-house than we once had. When I started as a cadet reporter, we didn't even have the internet. Copy takers still used typewriters, and people still smoked in corners of the building. A siren accompanied by a robotic countdown voice would sound every time the computer system crashed. System going down in 10 seconds. My first email address was shared between 100 staff. The first mobile phone I used came with its own custom-made briefcase. It was much more black and white back then. We even needed to courier colour photographs to Sydney to get them processed specially for a paper that was hitting the streets 48 hours later. Yes, the internet has changed everything. Gutenberg and his press have been left in the shade by Google and its omnipotence. The Newcastle Herald has won almost every award going over the past 12 months, from Gold Walkleys to, I think we won Newspaper of the Year, Website of the Year, Mobile App of the Year. But please don't think I have all the answers. In fact, I still have more questions than answers. Newspapers themselves are selling fewer copies and making less money, but our products, our content, is being consumed by more people than ever before. No, you may not know, but the Newcastle Herald has just eclipsed 40,000 Facebook likes. That is more copies, that is more likes than the amount of printed copies that we sell each weekday. On top of that, we average 650,000 unique browsers on our website each month, which is more people than live in the entire Hunter Valley. I suppose it's a case of don't ask what your audience can do for you, instead ask what you can do for your audience. Instead of impartiality or straight news, those increasingly fragmented audiences want analysis and opinion with expertise or experience attached, delivered in the most ethical of frameworks. Even new journalism needs old-fashioned values. It was Rudyard Kipling a century or so ago who said that the five W's should be a writer's best friend. That is, who, what, where, when and why. He was right then and he's right now. But I think the future of journalism will be shaped just as much by the 5 I's: integrity, independence, inclusion, investment, and, you guessed it, innovation. Yes, the I's have it. Thank you.